The Vorthak Empire had ruled the Orion Arm for 12,000 cycles. Their ships, massive and bristling with plasma cannons, had crushed 47 civilizations beneath their clawed feet. When their scouts detected the primitive signals emanating from Sol 3, they barely paused to consult their war council. Earth would be easy prey. Commander Zarketh watched the blue-green world grow larger on his view screen, mandibles clicking with satisfaction. The intelligence reports showed a fractured species, divided by imaginary lines and petty disputes. They had barely ventured beyond their own moon. This would take less than a solar rotation. The first strike hit Geneva at dawn. The antimatter warhead vaporized the city in a flash of violet light, leaving nothing but a crater of glass where millions had lived moments before. Beijing fell next, then New York, Moscow, Mumbai. Within 6 hours, Earth's major population centers were burning. The Vorthak broadcast their demand: unconditional surrender or total extinction. Zarketh expected panic. He expected chaos. He expected surrender. He did not expect silence. For 3 days, the humans said nothing. Their military installations went dark. Their communication networks ceased. The Vorthak fleet orbited Earth, weapons trained on the remaining cities, waiting for the inevitable capitulation that always came. On the 4th day, something changed. A single transmission reached the flagship, audio only in perfect Vorthak battle tongue. The voice was calm, almost conversational. "You have made a terrible mistake." Zarketh's translator had never heard a human speak before, but the words carried a weight that made his exoskeleton itch. Before he could respond, alarms shrieked across the bridge. Sensors detected launches from every continent simultaneously. Not the clumsy chemical rockets they'd observed before, but something else entirely. The first missile materialized from nowhere, phasing through their shields as if they didn't exist. It struck the dreadnought Chromath's fang amidships, and the vessel simply ceased to be. No explosion, no debris. One moment it existed. The next, there was only empty space. "Impossible!" Zarketh roared. "They don't have phase technology. They barely have fusion." Another ship vanished, then 3 more. The humans had been watching, studying, waiting. Every probe the Vorthak had sent into the Sol system over the past decade had been captured, dissected, and reverse-engineered. Earth's greatest minds, those same fractious, divided humans, had united the moment the first bomb fell. The weapons now tearing through the Vorthak fleet represented centuries of theoretical physics, compressed into 72 hours of desperate, brilliant work. But that wasn't what shook the galaxy. What followed was something the Vorthak had never encountered in their long history of conquest: pure, calculated vengeance. The human fleet emerged from Earth's shadow 3 weeks later, not the primitive vessels Zarketh had seen in their databases, but warships that made Vorthak dreadnoughts look like toys. They'd been built in the asteroid belt, constructed from the ruins of destroyed cities, forged in the crematoriums of 5 billion dead. Each ship bore the name of a city that no longer existed. The Geneva caught the fleeing Vorthak fleet at the edge of the system. Its captain broadcast on all frequencies as the engagement began, and every species in the galaxy heard the message that followed. "You came to our world believing we were weak. You murdered our children, incinerated our homes, and thought we would beg for mercy. You were wrong. We are not asking for your surrender. We are not interested in your apologies. We want you to understand what you've done, and we want everyone watching to remember this moment." The battle lasted 40 minutes. The Vorthak Empire's 9th Fleet, pride of their armada, was annihilated to the last ship. But humanity didn't stop there. The trail led back to the Vorthak homeworld, and the human fleet followed it like a vengeful ghost. Other species watched in horrified fascination as Earth's children carved a path through the Orion Arm, systematically dismantling an empire that had stood for millennia. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session, debating whether to intervene. Ambassador Krell of the Sistian Confederacy, whose own people had barely survived Vorthak conquest 3 centuries prior, spoke the words that would echo through history. "Let them finish." The Vorthak asked for war. Let them learn what war means to humans. When the human fleet reached Vorthak Prime, they found the planet's defenses already standing down. Zarketh himself broadcast the unconditional surrender, his voice stripped of all arrogance. The human response was short: accepted. Now comes the reckoning. But instead of the expected bombardment, the humans did something unprecedented. They landed troops. They occupied the planet. They put every member of the Vorthak War Council on trial, broadcast across the galaxy, and forced them to answer for every civilization they'd destroyed, every world they'd burned. And when the trials were over, the humans didn't execute the Vorthak leadership. They imprisoned them on a space station orbiting Earth, positioned so they could see every day the slowly healing world they'd tried to destroy. The message was clear. Humanity would not become what had attacked them. In the aftermath, the Galactic Council extended its first invitation to Earth. The human delegation arrived aboard the rebuilt Geneva, its hull still scarred from battle. The Council's prime mediator asked the question everyone wanted answered. How did you develop such technology so quickly? How did you defeat an empire that conquered half the Orion Arm? The human ambassador, a woman who'd lost her entire family in the Beijing strike, smiled grimly. You want to know our secret? It's simple. You see, you never attacked a unified world. You attacked 8 billion individuals who loved someone you killed. Every human who survived became an engineer, a soldier, a weapon. You didn't strike first against humanity. You struck first against 8 billion personal wars you could never hope to win. She paused, letting the words sink in. We discovered something about ourselves in those dark days. We are not naturally united. We argue, we fight, we disagree about everything. But there is one thing that brings us together faster than anything in the universe. A common enemy. You gave us that gift, and now the galaxy knows what happens when you wake up humanity's worst nightmare. What nightmare is that? The mediator asked. The ambassador's smile never wavered. A united human race. The Galactic Council voted that day to grant Earth full membership and protection. More importantly, they passed the first contact protocols, which included one unbreakable rule that every species would come to know. Never strike first against humanity. Because humanity doesn't just strike back, they make sure you never forget the lesson.